Hi again, Risa here, back with another episode of Ask Risa. This is my fortnightly video series where I talk about common wedding planning questions and problems that you might be having. We are all still under lockdown because of COVID-19 and it's getting old. I don't know. I have nothing to say. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody knows when we're going to be able to have weddings again. Nobody knows anything. This week I'm going to talk about when you should send out save the dates and invitations. And I am mostly going to talk about this from the perspective of normal times, when you actually can be sure you're going to have a wedding and you can be reasonably sure people are going to come to it. And as I go along, I will provide some commentary as it relates to coronavirus. And if I sound tired, it's because I am. I'm tired of this whole fucking situation. I just can't with it anymore. But I'm just gonna do the best I can here. So, save the dates. Those depend a little bit on what kind of wedding you're having and where you're having it. If you are having an international destination wedding, like in Mexico or in Europe, Italy, something like that, you should send out your save the dates about a year in advance, because people are going to need plenty of advance notice for something like that, because international travel is expensive and they will need time to figure out if they can make it and plan that for their calendar and save money, etc. So if you're doing an international wedding, you definitely want to send out those save the dates a year in advance. If you're having a domestic wedding, like staying within the United States, but it's still a destination, like if you're going to Hawaii or if you're going to a ranch in Montana or something like that, then you probably want to send those save the dates out 10 to 12 months before your wedding. People aren't going to need quite as much time to plan as they would for an international trip, but they're still going to need quite a bit of time to plan a trip around your wedding. If you're getting married in just your regular place where you live, but a lot of your guests are going to be coming from out of town, then you probably want to send those more like 6 to 8 months before the wedding, just because, again, it gives people a little bit of a heads up notice to plan their calendar, especially if you're getting married in the summer when a lot of people take family vacations. If they're going to come to your wedding, they might need to rearrange a family vacation if they want to come to your wedding instead. So the more notice you can give people, the better. And then if almost all of your guests are going to be coming from a local area, save the dates aren't strictly necessary, because nobody's really needs to travel or make a lot of reservations, but 6 months is pretty standard. If you are planning a wedding on a super short time frame, like I did, I only had 5.5 months to plan my wedding. We sent save the dates, we called the important people to find out dates that they were available and chose our date based on our important people's schedules. But then we did send out save the dates immediately, basically as fast as we could possibly get them printed, just to give everybody our wedding website and things like that. But if you're getting married in just a matter of months, then there's not really much point in sending a save the date, because it's not going to give people much of a notice. At that point, you're basically just relying on word of mouth. Going back to something I just said a second ago, you want to send your save the dates after you've had a chance to set up your wedding website, because you should put your wedding website URL on the save the dates. That way people have a resource that they can turn to. Your website doesn't have to be complete. You don't have to have everything on it. It can even just say coming soon. It literally doesn't need anything on it. But as long as people have that URL, then they can go and check back. As you add registry information, as you add travel information, they'll know that it will be available on your website as it becomes known to you. So it's good to be able to send that information to them. When it comes to invitations, you kind of need to work backwards from your wedding date to figure out the best time to send those, because your caterer and your venue are going to want your final head count somewhere between 10 and 14 days before your wedding. So let's call it 2 weeks before your wedding. They're going to want that final head count. Well, you can't give that to them until you know who's coming. So you need that number 2 weeks before your wedding. However, don't make that your RSVP deadline, because some people aren't going to RSVP and you are going to have to track them down. You're going to have to email, you're going to have to call, you're going to have to text, you're going to do whatever to figure out if these people are coming or not. So give yourself time to do that. So I always recommend making the RSVP deadline 1 month before your wedding. That way it gives you 2 weeks to track down stragglers, and then you still can get that final number in time to give it to your caterer and your venue when they need it. So if you want people to RSVP a month before the wedding, you need to give them a little bit of time between receiving the invitation and actually having to RSVP. So generally speaking, if you mail your invitations 4 to 6 weeks before the RSVP deadline, that should give people plenty of time. Not 4 to 6 weeks before the wedding date, 4 to 6 weeks before the date you want to set as your RSVP deadline. So that's really like 8 to 10 weeks before your wedding date. So you just have to look at the calendar, work your way backwards. Now, obviously, in the time that we are currently living, no one can make plans. So if somebody gets your wedding invitation in August for your wedding that's being held in October, they're not going to know. They're not going to know whether they can attend your wedding, because they're not going to know what the state of the world is going to be 2 months hence. Are people going to feel comfortable traveling? Are we even going to be allowed to hold weddings? Are we going to be allowed to have gatherings of more than 10 people? Nobody knows. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could tell you. So you have to be prepared for people to not know what they're doing. And I think everybody needs to be prepared for a lot of people to not come to their wedding when ordinarily they would have wanted to, but now travel is just too daunting. Even if we're allowed to hold gatherings, a lot of people who have to travel long distances may not want to get on an airplane and may not want to stay in a hotel, and you may not have as many people at your wedding as you anticipated. And we may not know this until the last minute. So it's very frustrating for everyone involved. And if you're trying to plan a wedding right now, I feel your pain. I really do. A lot of people who have already had to reschedule their weddings, or people who are considering it, are sending change the date cards. So instead of save the date, change the date. Those you should send basically as soon as you have a new date. Doesn't have to be a paper copy of something. All the websites, the like Minted and whatnot, they are doing paper versions of Change the Dates. That's become very popular now. But you can do them electronically. And depending on where your wedding website is set up, you may have the capability of just emailing your entire guest list all at once. I know I had some clients who had their website on Zola.com, and they were able to communicate regularly with their guests. Their wedding was scheduled for April. And so in the past few months, they were able to send their guests emails from time to time to let them know, well, we're thinking about moving it. We don't know what's going to happen. But as things started to get more and more serious, they realized they were in fact going to have to reschedule. So they sent an group email to everybody through the Zola platform. So it was just a really easy, helpful way to get all that information out to all the guests simultaneously. So that is definitely something to consider when you are looking into creating a wedding website. So normally I don't recommend electronic invitations for the wedding. They're fine for the save the date. They're fine for the change the date. Paperless Post is one of my favorite places to do like online invitations. But in light of all the stuff that's happening, even if you wanted to do your wedding invitation electronically, this is the perfect opportunity for something like that, because we're all just playing this by ear day by day. So definitely something to keep in mind. And again, I'm sorry that I don't have something more upbeat to say. This is starting to wear me down too, and I'm sure everybody else is feeling the same way. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of guidance. You have to do the best you can right now, and just be prepared. If you're planning a wedding for later in 2020 or even early 2021, people just may not know whether they can make it, and they might not come just because it's too difficult to make decisions about things like that right now. So just emotionally and mentally prepare yourself if you can. So if you have any questions, let me know and I will do my best to answer them. And otherwise, I will be back in 2 weeks with another video. Hope everybody is staying safe out there. Bye for now.